As humans, we are a social species and we are wired for connection. And when those connections are made, the reward center in our brain lights up because it's what we want for our lives. Human connections, Brene Brown had a quote about it, and she said, "We are hardwired to connect with others. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. And without it, there is suffering." Human connections is forming a deep bond between people because people want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be valued. And when the connection is authentic, and I highlight that word authentic, then people can exchange trust and they can exchange bond between themselves. They feel a sense of belonging. Human connections also has benefits health wise. It increases our immune system. It allows us to recover faster from diseases. And sometimes people even live longer when they have that deep sense of connection. It lowers anxiety, it lowers depression, and it lowers suicide attempts. So it's very important that we have these human connections. But we know that during the pandemic, human connections took a hit. Studies have shown that loneliness and depression really increased a lot during the pandemic. Loneliness is a greater detriment than smoking, obesity, and high blood pressure. And depression is one of the leading causes for disability worldwide. It's a worldwide thing. According to the CDC, during the during the pandemic, suicide attempts amongst teenage girls increased by 50%. So it really did have an effect on people. We were forced to live in a socially distanced world. Some people had to live by themselves for months at a time. When we went places, we had to wear masks and we didn't even see the full expressions of people. Others had to work from home and they couldn't socialize with coworkers and they were out of routine. Students had to be homeschooled, and this brought stress not only with parents but with children because they were out of routine and they really didn't understand the magnitude of this pandemic. Porn consumption skyrocketed and divorce rates in the US and the UK increased because of it all. So that was the pandemic. But even before then, does anybody want to guess something else that caused a big effect on human connection? It was living in the digital world, the increase of the digital world that we have now. Because the digital interactions have increased, so have loneliness. And we see less human interactions now than we have ever seen. And if you don't believe it, go into a restaurant and look around and see how many people are on their devices instead of having conversations with family members or with friends. I remember, I guess it was around May because it was prom time. Somebody posted pictures of their children at prom and they were all seated at tables. They were all on their cell phones. Their parents had spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on this special night, and all they did was sit in their formals and tuxedos on their devices, not even talking to their dates. And I thought, that was just such a sad thing that they were missing this opportunity. Recently, I listened to a TED Talk by Molly Carroll, and she was talking about human connections. And she said, first, we needed to look within ourselves before we could see about connecting with others. And that's the part where I said authentic connections, because how many times have we, when people have asked us how we're feeling, we just say, I'm fine, when we really aren't. Or we try to hide those feelings from our partners or our children because we don't want them to worry when clearly they know things are wrong. We need to look at ourselves and we need to feel what it is that we're feeling, and we need to acknowledge what it is that's stopping us from not being authentic with ourselves. Sometimes just being alone, whether it's going for a walk or journaling, meditating, praying, taking a long hot bath, whatever it is, to be in touch with your feelings, to understand what it is you're feeling and how you can deal with it. And it's when you deal with it, when you have that self-belief, that you're going to be able to connect with others in an authentic way. That's what builds the bond and the trust. But at the end of the day, when you're going through that, it is so important to remember that no matter what it is that you're feeling, you are enough, you are worthy, and there is no one in this entire world that is exactly like you. And I always do say, God doesn't make junk, and so you are worth it. We're going to look next week on how to take that authentic self and move into building the human connections with others. But for right now, we want to make sure that we can build that human connection with ourselves first, so that when we reach out to others, it's being done authentically. And so I'm going to open it up to any comments or discussion about this subject. If anybody has anything to say about that. And Tonina?
Peggy, that was very powerful. What you brought to us, to our thought process today, because yes, indeed, connecting authentically is a very difficult thing to do. And as you mentioned, people don't want to trouble other people. They fear judgment. They fear other layers of emotional rejections when we connect, when we want to be really, really, really authentic. And I really don't know to this day how can people overcome this. What is it that they need to break through to go out there and be themselves? And it's a very difficult process. I help my business clients to be authentic in business and connect their inner authenticity with their products, and it is kind of easier process than, you know, just put yourself out there and reveal your total self, total uniqueness, if you like. And I really welcome you leading the way with your advice and encouragement. Thank you.
I think sometimes we're so afraid of judgment that we allow ourselves to just hide within ourselves. But people who are truly meant for us are going to not judge us the way we think they will. Cornelia?
That's why in our previous talk that I did on Thursdays, I invited you, the participant, to retire the judge and to refuse to judge the self, because that's where it begins. We have to stop judging the self. And when we stop judging the self, then we will naturally, organically begin to stop judging others, because we retired the judge. And so I want to say it is absolutely possible to heal this human condition, because as a person that used to hate myself at my core, with deep hatred towards myself, and now deeply loving myself, it's possible. So don't give up, stay encouraged, make that one step of stopping to judge yourself, refuse it, put that line in the sand, and you will be on your way.
Very well said. Thank you, Cornelia. Well, that's going to take us to the close of today's episode of Stuck to Unstoppable. Join me here each Monday in the KS Media Group app as we bring another episode of Stuck to Unstoppable. Remember that there is something all week long for you to get value from all the different people, all the different thought leaders that have so much to share with you. I'm Peggy Bell, reminding you that You need to go out and live your purpose because life is short. So make it count. Until next time.
Mhm.